fluent presentation. And now Dr. Nagla will introduce the last presenter in this session.
Good afternoon again. I will present the microdose mammography instead of Agasa. She cannot give the presentation right now. Let's start by some facts about breast cancer. Breast cancer is the second leading cause of death among women. 558,000 deaths from breast cancer occur every year globally. 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer in their lifetimes. Some challenging facts about mammography. About the sensitivity, in extreme cases, 4 out of 10 cancers are not detected. Specificity, the recall rate ranges up to 15% and overdiagnosis up to 57%. About the dose, about 11 women die from radiation to save 497. Increasing lack of radiologists could impact the capability to do screening in the future, and this is an important fact about the lack of resources. Microdose mammography delivers outstanding image quality and non-invasive spectral application in one fast and comfortable low-dose mammogram. It has a unique photon counting technology which allow reduction of the dose with improving the image quality, especially in dense breast, about 11%. It's an industry-leading very high resolution, 15 micron, and it also has shown great impact on the clinical performance. The new technology of microdose is accompanied with 40% dose reduction, radiation dose reduction. Also, microdose mammography provides spectral breast density measurements, first solution in the market capable of non-contrast spectral imaging application which give an exact amount of the breast glandular density and adipose tissue in the breast. If we had an objective method to evaluate the amount of glandular tissue, this could in the near future lead to new guidelines and a change in the breast practice. Why direct photon counting lead to reduction of the dose counting? It's like if you are in a crowded and busy room and it is possible to get a message through if you can speak loud enough. However, in an empty room and a quiet room, you can get the same message through even if you whisper. This is what photon counting does in imaging. The technology of microdose mammography is a multi-slit system with photon counting detector. One of the most important studies in analyzing the results of microdose mammography is the Irish breast check study. It's a large study done on screening women. They included in the study 2,900 examination done using Philips Hologic and GE machine, and they record their studies, record their results. The results of this study indicate that the overall prevalence of screening is improved by using the low-dose mammography. The cancer detection rate was highest with the low-dose mammography, probably because of detection better in the dense breast, and also it was followed by reduction in the dose of radiation. Thank you so much for your attention.
Now for discussion. Any questions to the speakers? No? questions? Yes, please.
Thank you for the question. Doctor was asking about the role of Doppler in assessing the axillary lymph node. Yes, Doppler has a role in assessing the axillary lymph node. Normally, the vascularity of the lymph node is a single hilar vessel. Enter the node at the hilar. When having subcapsular vascularity coming through the cortex, like the nodes I show you in the picture, this is an indication of infiltrated lymph node. However, the subcapsular vascularity might occur in aggressive inflammatory condition and in conditions like lymphoid hyperplasia, the Castle-Man disease. So it's not 100% sensitivity, but it could be an indication of infiltrated lymph node. But the most important is the mass-like lymph node and the cortical thickness 2.3. The second question for Dr. Maha, it was
the dose is about 20% more than the normal dose of the mammogram. About the injection, we injected, of course it's better to inject it by the injector, but in our department we injected manually. You can get the same results. Of course, by manual, the injector is better than the manual injection.
And how much is the dose?
20% more.
The dose of the contrast medium, how many cc's you inject?
1.5 milli per kilogram was weight.
1.5 mL each kilogram. Thank you. Any more questions? Yes, Dr. Magda.
I have a question for Professor Scamrotta. I'd like to ask you about situations you encountered where elastography adds more puzzle to the diagnostic problem by ultrasound.
Problem for elastography and so
the situations we encountered where elastography adds more puzzle or more difficulty to your diagnostic criteria by ultrasound.
No.
Ultrasound and Doppler.
Yes, no problem, no particular problem. My idea is now, after our experience, 10 years in an elastography situation, is elastography is easy, fast, no problem, and improve the specificity for ultrasound. And I use in some time, not in all case, but in more case, in particular when I make, for example, the biopsy. Because before the biopsy, I use elastography to detect the image and to decide what is the probability of malignant or lesion before the biopsy, and use elastography. So for me, elastography is a good experience, is a good new tools. But I repeat, in this moment in the world there are more different experiences. In the Europe, for example, is no good experience in elastography, and for example in the east of the world, for example in Korea, in China, there are more good experience, and so spoke about elastography more with a very, very important experience. I don't know what is the
Probably the fibrous, the tough fibrous fibroadenoma can make some problems.
Yes.
Dr. Nagla, may I?
Yes, I agree.
Dr. Magda, if you are asking about the sensitivity or the difficulties in elastography, the sensitivity of elastography is highest or great when having a small lesion and superficial lesion. The lesion, if being close to the skin, the vibration can be transmitted adequately to the lesion so that we can get good results. But when having deep lesion close to the muscle in large breast, it's very difficult to transmit the vibration to the lesion, so the results are not accurate in the large lesions and in the deep lesions. And the large lesions is not a problem for assessment by the conventional ultrasound, but usually it gets the benefit of elastography in small lesions. So I think the sensitivity is better with the small lesions.
Yes, sorry, I agree. Yes, there is a problem for the deep or the superficial lesion, but the problem is not only this. The problem is the cancer, the aspect of cancer is more heterogeneous. The cancer, in some cases, is more strong, the elastography is good, but in some cases, less, yes. And no, the problem for elastography is not only the position, the acquisition, the frame, for example, another problem. In some cases, the problem inside the heterogeneous of cancer, for the pathology is cancer. The problem is this. And so in the world, I spoke about the good sensitivity and specificity, but the specificity is no very, very good, because in medium is 18%, 85%. It's no 90%. In normal ultrasound, in a good hospital, in a good experience for a university, your university, or another cancer center in the world, the specificity by normal ultrasound in 95% is very high. And so the sonar elastography, the work of sonar elastography is comparing in this situation 95% of specificity and 85% of specificity. Is necessary work and technology, and improve the technology.
I have a question for you. It's concerning the tomosynthesis.
Yes.
Did you decrease the dose by using synthesized 2D image, or how did you decrease your dose? In our experience? Yeah.
No, now we make in two situations. We use combo application, normal mammography and tomosynthesis in some time. And for in the second level, for example, for the scar or other situation, in the second time use tomosynthesis only projection, for example, or two projection, but after the normal mammography. Two different situations. For example, in your situation, the screening ambient is in this moment in the world, our experience is the same. But in the world is the same, is a combo acquisition, 2D normal mammography and digital mammography tomosynthesis in some time.
My question was how to reduce the dose. I think you had mentioned something like 2D synthesis, an image 2D synthesis. You synthesize it from the tone. Did I understand right, or you meant something else?
The dose?
Yes.
Yes,
The radiation dose.
Yes, if you reduce the dose.
And you do tomo in both CC and MLO, or in one?
No, when you in this moment the CDU's application is a study. And so in this moment, in our experience, is use CVU after normal use tomosynthesis. Mammography, tomosynthesis, and so CVU to compare the accuracy, the specificity in particular to CVU, because in this moment for us the first target is specificity of CVU, because we don't have experience, and so for us we don't have the data. In the future, the logic, the LoRa situation propose use only digital tomosynthesis, and so in the second step use CVU without normal mammography. But is a purpose for the future? In this moment, no. For us, no. In this moment, no.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, another question, if you please. I'd like to ask you about your decision if you find the elastography results are mismatched with the ultrasound and Doppler results.
Sono in Doppler?
Yeah, sometimes.
No. I don't have experience in the comparing the sonar.
Which one do you trust more? If there is discrepancy between the result of the elasto with that of the ultrasound and Doppler, which one do you trust more?
Which one use sonography and Doppler? Yes, I understand. Sorry. In this moment, for normal use in the diagnosis, in the breast diagnosis today, every day I use ultrasound and Doppler, but and prefer than sonelastography. Sonelastography is a study for. I use sonelastography when I have a problem, when I think there is a problem to detect the lesion, and I think it's malignant or benign. But for normal situation, in first step, I use Doppler.
Thank you. As I expected too many questions about elastography, I will try to shift to MRI, and I will ask Professor Doria about the. Do you think that the introduction of 3 Tesla and new dedicated MR points for the breast 16 channels would increase the sensitivity of MRI in such multi-modality screening of breast, and also about MRI spectroscopy?
Well, for the first half of the question, the 3 Tesla MRI, definitely it will, yes. And speaking about spectroscopy, it's one of the tools of MR to help in to be with or against the lesion to be malignant or not. It helps, like time intensity curve, like the contrast, for instance. So it's a tool. It's an additive tool to help in the diagnosis. Speaking of specificity, I don't have a percentage to say. I don't know actually, but speaking of the additive value, definitely it does that.
I will have a last question for Dr. Pietro, and my question is, are you familiar with this radial probe for the ultrasound to examine the retroareolar area? The wide radial probe for the retroareolar area by ultrasound, the high frequency.
So, if I understood well, some years ago from the French country, from France, they were promoting a special ultrasound probe to evaluate the DAX, but no one of us believed in it. I mean, it's something different than the work we do every day. We don't need it, I think. And was a small group in France, but we didn't have any experience in this way in Italy. So I don't believe in it anyway. Okay, so if you intend that one, I think because they published something about 5-6 years ago on this topic.
Yeah, using some water bath or water
Yes,
bath.
and also I don't believe in 3D. We don't need it. I mean, maybe you can see things better, but it's not useful. Color Doppler and elastography are more useful, sure. Also, if they don't change so much the diagnosis, you make a diagnosis performing ultrasound in the normal way, and if you want more information, you switch on the color Doppler sometimes just to see, as in the case of papilloma, if it's positive, it's a papilloma is a dense lesion. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And I think by now we will conclude the session, but before we just close the session, please be reminded that the next session would be at 5:15 in the White Canyon Hall, which is the biggest hall here. And later you will shift to the other room afterwards in the multidisciplinary case discussion. And now we are all invited for lunch, and then please be back at next session at 5:15. Thank you.